Hi, how's everyone doing today? And today we're going to continue my streak of NBA videos as the Combine's going on and there's not a lot of news going on in the college football world. MLB is at a halt. And we're going to be talking about the NBA for a little bit. If you want me to talk about a certain NFL team going into the offseason, I kind of wanted to wait till mid-March when we get really close to free agency and things of that nature to really get started on what I expect for NFL teams moving forward. We're going to be focusing a little bit more on the in-between game for the NBA when we're talking about these teams that really haven't gotten a lot of love. And if you haven't watched my previous video, I understand if you wanted to click off a little early, because I honestly just started ranting about a lot of things that weren't super related to the Lakers, because I didn't really want to talk about the Lakers at the end of the day because they get talked about. They're put on national TV all the time. Everyone knows they're not good. They're not a good team right now. They're not fun to watch. It's not like they're even star powered like fun. They're just kind of sad to watch right now. And a team that beat them recently, I'm recording this right now on Friday, March, I believe 4th. The Batman has officially came out, by the way, and I really want to go see that movie. I'm telling you, man, I'm a huge comics guy. Honestly, if I wasn't talking about sports, I'd probably be talking about Marvel and movies and things of that nature. I want to talk about the Pelicans. I want to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans and how they have a reason to be optimistic moving on into the future, as they had started this year on a very, very sour note, as they have found out that Zion Williamson, their star, hasn't been playing at all. And I will get into Zion later in the video, but the Pelicans to start the year were not good. If you don't know what the Pelicans roster is mainly consisted of before the Mccollum trade, it was guys like Kira Lewis, who's a Alabama point guard that they were hoping to develop into a pretty solid guard for them. He actually torn his ACL in December, so he has not been available as of recent. But they have Devontae Graham, a guy from, I believe it was Charlotte, who had a couple productive seasons as a scorer, and he has had some good moments this year. Brandon Ingram, a guy that has continued to develop, and he's still, I think, like 24. He's still super young. He hasn't really hit his prime yet, as many people are still waiting to see that full potential come to fruition. I still think he can be a real bucket later on into his career. And then they got Jonas Valanciunas as they moved off of Steven Adams, which I thought was a fantastic get, specifically as the match with Zion Williamson moving on into this year. And they picked up another Alabama guy in Herb Jones. Herb Jones is a power forward /3 who is a fantastic defender, and he has been showing off as of recent how good of a pick he has been. I think he's been one of the biggest steals of these recent years. And you might be asking me, why am I optimistic about a 26-36 team? And I'm not one to celebrate a play-in as much as many others will. I don't celebrate mediocrity most of the time because they're going to be the sacrificial lamb to right now the Phoenix Suns, and most likely it's going to be a sweep in 4 between the Pelicans, the Trailblazers, or the Lakers. And the Lakers right now are falling off a cliff. As many people have noticed, they have lost 4 straight. They're 2 of 8 of their last 10. We still have a long ways to go, and I have if you don't know, I have a monitor right here, so I'm looking at the standings. The Pelicans have actually won 3 straight. And these little trends that can build momentum. Now, they're not going to go on a 20-game winning streak, even a 5-game winning streak. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost their next game. Let's see who they're playing, actually. I would like to know. Oh, they're playing the Jazz today. And they could lose the Jazz. But their schedule moving forward, they have a Nuggets that aren't fully healthy. They have the Grizzlies. Then you get the Magic, and you have a Rockets. You get a couple easier Spurs matchups, and then Trailblazers, and then you play the Lakers twice in late March and early April. So their schedule doesn't seem too difficult. I think there's a lot of games to be played. They could still squeak into the play-in, and they've beaten the Lakers. So I have full expectations that they could beat the Lakers. And one of the key dynamics that have changed throughout the Pelicans after the All-Star break is the obvious trade with CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum was a former Trailblazer who was the partner, the co-guy with Damian Lillard. For the longest time, the narrative with CJ McCollum is a guy that can't really defend for his frame. I mean, he's a smaller guy. Everyone has seen the picture of him as, I think, what was a high schooler. I think like 5'3", 5'4". I don't mean to disrespect CJ McCollum. He's probably one of my favorite players in the NBA. But everyone knows about that picture. He's a smaller guard, so he has limitations defensively. We haven't really been able to see him as a playmaker. And when you're right next to Damian Lillard, I mean, yes, he's a scorer, he's a bucket, and he's been a little bit injury prone over the past couple years, but you haven't been able to truly see what his skill set as a guard when you have Damian Lillard as the main ball handler, and really whenever Dame is getting doubled or really having an off night, CJ was the guy that he would dump it off to and try to be the second man. And I still think CJ McCollum could be a second or third option on a championship winning team. But right now, with Brandon Ingram and the spacing that allows with Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram and himself, and Devontae Graham, it's been really interesting to see because he has been fantastic. I'm not seeing a lot of people show a lot of love towards him because he's averaging, I think, around 35 and 6. Now, that might be an outdated stat. They have played a couple games since I've seen that, but still, he has been a bucket. And it's rare that we see in-season trades come to fruition this quickly. A lot of times, in-season trades don't make a big-time move or a big shift in the needle unless it's this year. Honestly, this year feels like an anomaly as we see James Harden gets traded and they've been undefeated with him and he's put up ridiculous stats. In previous years, you really didn't see that happen too much where an in-season trade would happen right at the deadline. It doesn't move the needle as much as people kind of hype it up to be. We saw it with Nikola Vucevic with the Bulls. It didn't really change their franchise that much. Now, it changed it this year because he got an entire offseason. You got to retool the offense. It was just more getting that asset then than risking a free agent situation. A lot of people will make those in-season trades not only for the rest of the season to see where you're at, but you want to see how he fits on the team. And it's rare that you get an opportunity where they start to produce wins this quickly. And CJ McCollum has been a perfect fit in a win-now situation in New Orleans. The reason why it's a win-now situation is because your star, your number one pick, where the number two pick has flourished with the Grizzlies, another small market in John Morant, Zion Williamson is the X factor for the Pelicans for a multitude of reasons. The reason why I don't really like talking about him, it's a Ben Simmons kind of thing where he's not on the court, nothing's really happening. Twitter has bullied him into posting about his teammates. I don't really enjoy talking about Zion, and I was ready to be on the bandwagon with Zion through his entire career. I loved him at Duke. I saw a freak athlete, and it was like I never really had that opportunity to like just be a fan of LeBron when he was coming out of high school, and I felt like I could have done that with Zion, and now he's not even on the court. I don't want to talk about his weight because that's just a weird conversation to always like criticize a guy's weight all the time. They do it with James Harden. It's just not something I like talking about. I want to talk about his skill set on the court, and he hasn't been on the court to show off that skill set. A lot of people are calling him Greg Oden with Kevin Durant being John Morant, and I just want people to realize like he did average 27 and was very, very like historically efficient. He was one of the best players in the league when healthy. He just hasn't been healthy with a foot injury, and a lot of people are saying, well, that's just a foot injury. You could probably get over that, but when it comes to basketball and a guy that's so explosive, I don't blame him for wanting to take his time and always getting reevaluated. And maybe it's just bad luck for him not being on the court, but it's so frustrating knowing what the Pelicans could be with Zion as the true five, honestly, with Jonas going out to the four and being defensively a bigger guy. And I think they could do really well. I just think that their guard play would be too small to defensively keep up. And I'm not trying to say there would ever be a championship contender, but I think with Zion, they'd probably be a 6 seed. I think that might be a hot take to some people, but I really do think the Pelicans have a lot of potential on the roster. But Zion wanting to go, or the rumors, and not really communicating or being clear with the situation that's going on is hurting this franchise. And I think the Pelicans made a right move trying to win now and get some extra leverage to show, hey, Zion, listen, New Orleans obviously is not your first pick. I don't think they would ever admit that, but it's pretty clear it was not his first overall pick. Try to give him some reason to believe and trust that they can win in New Orleans. I still think the Pelicans have set themselves up pretty well as long as they draft well. Jackson Hayes, another guy that I want to give some love to. He's played fantastically at the 4. I always saw him as a strong 5 with his athleticism. He's played pretty damn good at the 4. You have Herb Jones. There's a lot of pieces here to either make another win now move, potentially get a better guard play. I still think Zion should stick in New Orleans. Now, if I were to make a guess, and I was Zion Williamson, even though I want him to stay in New Orleans, personally as a fan, and this is not a discredit to any New Orleans fans, if you're watching this, I would love Zion to stay a Pelican. I want New Orleans to be a good basketball franchise. I want y'all to change the logo and get a little brighter. I don't really like the colors y'all got going on, but that's just me being a marketing major. At the end of the day, I think he would be really cool in New York without Thibodeau. I want Thibodeau to be as far away from New York. I'm about to make a Thibodeau video on how he's not that great of a head coach. He's a good head coach, but longevity wise, he's not a good head coach. You have RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish. I want that to happen again. I want to see the Duke boys come back together, but I think that's a long reach. I don't know if New York even has anything close to the pieces that would even interest the Pelicans. It is helpful that they're in opposite conferences, but I really do want him to stay because I think the New Orleans Pelicans have all the reason to be optimistic, not only into the play-in, but moving on into this offseason, trying to build around Zion. It's just trying to get him back on board and trying to get him healthy, honestly. If he waits out this entire year and is healthy, he's got to get in shape. He's got to show that he could still be that Duke level in shape, because I'm not going to talk about his frame or size, but it's very apparent that he wasn't able to stay in games just because of stamina. And I want him to be acclimated to the NBA game, which I think he is built to win in that league. I mean, 27 a night at his age is not something to be treaded lightly over, but I do think he has some things to fix, and I think the Pelicans are in a prime position to convince him to stay. If you're at this point in the video, please like and subscribe. You probably just saw my spit fly everywhere. Thank you so much for watching. My goal is to try to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summertime, man. I would love to hit that. That's a big goal of mine. And then we're on the road to 10,000, and who knows where we can go from there. If you want to see me talk about any other programs or college football, college basketball, we're going to start a March Madness bracket here in a minute. And thank you so much for watching. Go Bobcats. Let's pray that Texas State ends up going into the NCAA tournament and winning in their first game. I believe in it. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.